I'm looking at this kid, Devin Lloyd, as the Michael Parsons of the AFC.
Yep.
This kid is everywhere. Now, they play a 3-4 front, but this kid is not a stationary target. He is everywhere. And sideline to sideline, their 4 linebackers are as fast as any quartet of linebackers in the game right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, they move. They hit. They don't miss many tackles. They hit. They're aggressive. Their defensive front, it gets pushed.
All right. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome back in, everybody. Derek Gunn, Barrett Brooks, Rob Ellis. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Reminder, you can check out any of our interviews at jakibsports.com, as well as unbelievable Eagles content there as well. And you can always go to just JAKIB Sports YouTube Network as well to get the entirety of our show, all of our interviews that we do. We had Tom McCarthy yesterday, Mike Quick yesterday. So check all those out. All right. So interesting, guys. Doug Pederson said today, in anticipation for the game on Sunday, that he has not seen, like in person, the statue that's up of him, of Nick Foles from the Super Bowl. He says he's hoping that he will get a good ovation. He said, but you never quite know. It's interesting. Like, I think a lot of times coaches will be like, I can't worry about that. I'm focused on our team and all that. Doug's been pretty honest with this when he's talked about his return to Philadelphia and how excited he is and how honored he is and all those kind of things. So I think that's pretty cool. Push-ups for Derek Gunn.
Of course he's going to downplay everything. He's going to come in. He's not sleeping. He won't sleep Saturday night. Mm-hmm. This team. That's why the Eagles better come and play, man, because this team is really, really wanting to, do everything they can to make sure Doug has a good showing there. And when I watch tape on them, they're the real deal, man. They are the real deal.
Yes.
And Lawrence is more than just a, pocket passer. He's a great athlete also. He can run. Yeah. He can do everything that one of the top quarterbacks can do and more. Put it like that. He's the total package, man. So they're going to have to come to play against him. That defense is the real deal. You know what I'm saying? So they're going to try to go out there and really dictate tempo. But one thing, I'll say this. The reason why they're able to heat people up is that they have a lot of trust in their secondary.
Yes.
They trust their secondary so they can keep a man in the box. And when you can keep a man in the box to stop the run, that's why they're so high at number one against the run. But I doubt seriously they'll be able to keep a man in the box for this offense. You won't be able to keep a man in the box. You're gonna have to cover these guys.
They're so young. I don't think they're old enough to be afraid of anything.
Right. That's exactly.
Don't know any better. Yeah.
No, they're all given a chance, and it's come together. When you've had back-to-back impressive showings like they had against the Colts, who, by the way, held Kansas City to 17 points, and then you hold, and I understand Justin Herbert's hurt, but you put up 38 points on a pretty good Chargers defense. You've held the Colts and the Chargers back-to-back weeks to a grand total of 10 points. That's saying something. That's making a statement,
Yes, sir.
I thought Jacksonville was at least a year away from being what Doug Pederson wanted them to be. Oh, no. That coaching staff has done a tremendous job. Look how young they are on defense. Mm-hmm. And I jokingly said on my podcast last night, Gun on One, I had Adam Kaplan on, and I jokingly said, I'm looking at this kid, Devin Lloyd, as the Michael Parsons of the AFC.
Yep.
This kid is everywhere. Now, they play a 3-4 front, but this kid is not a stationary target. He is everywhere. And sideline to sideline, their 4 linebackers are as fast as any quartet of linebackers in the game right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, they move. They hit. They don't miss many tackles. They hit. They're aggressive. Their defensive front it gets pushed. Now, that's going to be interesting to see because we brought it up last week or earlier in the week about how the Eagles' interior from the center to the 2 guards were getting worked over by Washington's 2 D tackles. It's going to be interesting to see because two of Jacksonville's defensive front guys go 320 and 318. Now the other end is 298, but he's lightning fast. So it's going to be interesting to see. And I know Jeff Stoutland has brought this up in the film session about his guard play from last game. I want to see how much they improved. Lane Johnson told us on the postgame show after that first game against Detroit, they got chewed out for 8 days leading up to the Minnesota game.
Yep.
And they played a much better game against Minnesota.
Oh, big time.
Now, I want to see how the guards play against this defensive front, because it's not just the defensive front. They're coming. They're coming. They blitz almost as much as Detroit. They're coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're aggressive.
They look just like the Giants.
Yeah,
They look like the Giants defense.
Yeah.
They're always bringing somebody from somewhere, and they can disguise it because they don't use Walker as necessarily a defensive lineman. He drops a lot. He's like a Hassan Reddick, but bigger.
He can cover.
Yeah, he can cover too, though. He can cover also. You know what I'm saying? But they have him legitimately as a guy that can come off the edge, and they play a lot of 50 front, a lot of bare front.
Yeah.
With three interior D linemen and then 2 outside guys. They play a lot of that. That's why you can't run on them either. But I mean, I know they have the work cut out for them, but I still think the Eagles are the better team.
Yeah, I mean,
I
agree. I agree, and they're home, right? I mean, so it's a game that you should, win. But you guys are right. This is not. I think before the season started, we all looked at it like, all right, that's an automatic. Boom, check it.
Yeah,
not an automatic, not by any stretch. Let me give you some numbers here, guys. Team wise, they're really impressive. So they're 7th in scoring. They average 28 points per game. They're 10th in rushing, 123.3 per game. They're 10th in passing. So they're in the top 10 in everything across the board offensively. But defensively, they're 5th in points allowed, just 12.7. They're giving up just 55 yards on the ground per game, number 1 in the NFL so far.
Yep.
You can get them in the passing game. They're giving up 257.7, which is 21st. Their safety play, Barrett, I like their corners. I don't love their safeties. I think their safeties are a little susceptible. So let me give you guys nailed the 2 guys. Devin Lloyd's been unbelievable. 24 tackles, 2 interceptions so far. Beast. Okay. Trayvon Walker has played very well for them. He's got 8 tackles, a sack, and interception. But the other guy to keep your eye on is Josh Allen. And I don't mean the Bills quarterback.
Oh.
This dude, he had 10 pressures by himself last week.
Jeez.
So, I mean, he's getting home. He's number 41 when you're watching the game. Listen to the size. This is like Trotter-like size. He's 6'5", 262. He's a big cat running around. He's listed as a linebacker, but he does a lot of different things for them.
Well, he was a number 1 pick and he came out in the draft. I remember when he was at Kentucky. I mean, he was probably the third linebacker drafted, 3rd or 4th linebacker. I think, during his draft. He was pretty good, man. He's now finally See what it is, this team is full of first round. They've been bad for so long. It's just a bunch of first rounders on that team.
Yes.
They got like 6 or 7 of their first rounders they kept. You know what I'm saying? That are just now starting to turn the corner and become good.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a big thing of why this team is so good, because they have guys that have been there so long.
Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, so when you have that many first rounders and a bunch of second rounders that are still there, like, Cam Robinson, their left tackle, he was a second rounder, supposed to have been a first rounder. He's still there. They have guys that, just suffered through all the, bad years, and now they're starting to turn the corner as far as being good players now.
Well, they also went out and they spent the right money. They brought in Brandon Sheriff, who's a great right tackle. The problem with him was from Washington. He couldn't stay healthy. And then you got Jawan Taylor playing next to him at right tackle. Their offensive line is really good. And you look at the draft they had just this
second
year.
Rounders.
Yes. They had 2 first-round picks this year, and both of them are playing lights out already. And Trayvon Walker and Devin Lloyd.
Yep.
So they've made a lot of – and Christian Kirk. Now, we all laughed at Christian Kirk getting that kind of money. He was an afterthought in Arizona. He's emerged as one of the top pass catchers in the game now. Mm-hmm. So the money they spent was well worth it to help turn this thing around.
I see him as a team that they probably are a year away, but their division is worse than the Eagles division. Right. Like the Titans suck. The Colts suck.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So they're looking like the best team in the division. Houston,
very much so.
Houston sucks. Yep. So they'll probably make to the playoffs this year. So when you look at I thought Nick Sirianni would have had a good case for being coach of the year this year, but
Yeah.
it's probably going to be Doug because his first year there, he's probably going to make it to the playoff just by default from the division being so bad.
So let me ask you both this then. Is this the proverbial trap game? Because the Eagles started out with 3 NFC opponents. And, of course, the third opponent was a division, the first division game. Now you got an AFC team coming in here. Could this be that proverbial trap game?
You know what? Can I go first? You might want to go first?
Yeah, go ahead, Bear.
I'm not saying it's a trap game. If they lose, they were beat because Jacksonville was better. It's not like they're going to take this team any lighter than any other team. Mm-hmm. That's one thing I can say about Coach Sirianni and the way these guys prepare. They have so much stuff that they need to do better that, they can't afford to be looking past anybody. Mm. You know what I'm saying? I mean, who's the next opponent? The Cardinals, I think?
Yes. And then the Cowboys.
So they're not looking past Jacksonville to get to the Cardinals. They're definitely not doing that. What they are doing is understanding, look, we really messed up in this game against Washington last week. Seumalo got whipped. Dickerson, when he was in there, he was hurt. But, you look at, Opeta got whooped. And also, what's his name? Jordan Mailata gave up a sack. Even though, he ran a horn, he still gave up a sack. So they got a lot to prove right there. In the second half, they're talking all this stuff about second half. They're going to have to score points in this second half.
Yeah.
This is going to be a must for them because they just, this Jaguar team has showed the propensity to be a very good 4-quarter team. So, I mean, this will be their biggest test thus far. Biggest test.
I agree with everything Barrett said, Derek. I don't think it's a look ahead in this sense. One, because it's Doug coming back. There's such an emotional pitch.
Yep.
Like, so many of these guys played for him. I can't see them in any way, shape, or form looking past this team. And the other thing is, Jacksonville. I think a couple things. If it was Dallas next week, maybe.
Yes. Maybe.
But Dallas is 2 weeks away. And if Jacksonville was 1-2 or 0-3, then I think you overlook them. A lot of people, not just us, are talking about Jacksonville in this start.
They just whooped the Chargers.
Yeah, they just put it on the Chargers, right? So I think that the antenna's up on this team. I think that some fans may be sleeping on Jacksonville, but I really don't think the Eagles players are. I don't. Everything Barrett just laid out too. If you're a coach, you can use these second halves. You could say, guys, we haven't scored 5 quarters in the second half. Like, you kidding me? Right. And just beat that into their heads all week.
The last time we scored a point was in the first half of last week's game.
Right.
You know what I mean? Come on.
Well, the second half, no, right on. So I think for all those reasons, Derek, you could use all that to your advantage if you're Nick Sirianni.
I'm looking at their stats against the Chargers. Now, obviously, Justin Herbert's playing with banged up rib cartilage. I get that. And then Bosa went down also. But that Chargers defense is pretty good. They put up 413 yards of offense on that Chargers defense. They had 151 yards rushing against this Chargers defense. They got to the red zone 6 times. Now, they only converted. They were 3 of 6 in the red zone. But here's the big stat. They're not just this quick strike team. They had the ball 38 minutes, 27 seconds against this Chargers defense. They were 8 for 15 on third down conversions, 2 for 3. On fourth down, they ran 75 plays. Now, if they control the clock against this Eagles team, this is going to make this an interesting game from start to finish.
Agreed. Hey, you guys will love this. So Nick today, before practice, showed the team a video of Tiger Woods when he was at the top of his game. Yeah. Basically, the line of thinking was he's still obsessed with getting better. He's just playing he was playing his best golf at the time. So
great message.
Nick's not afraid to pull that stuff out. But you guys mentioned, we were talking about it a little bit earlier, Trevor Lawrence. How about Trevor Lawrence? 77 for 111, 772 yards. He's completing 69.4% of his passes, 6 TDs, 1 interception. He's only been sacked twice.
No, 2 times he's been sacked.
103.1 passer rating. And I'll tell you the other guy to keep your eye on. This James Robinson, man.
Yes.
230 rushing yards, 4.5 yards per carry.
Yes.
ETN was the bigger name, but, and ETN's solid, but Robinson's the feature guy.
He's like a little bit bigger version, and when I say bigger, I'm talking about strength-wise than DeAndre Swift.
Yep.
And he can step. He gets an open space. You see him break off that 50-yard run last week?
Yeah.
Once he gets an open space, he can flat out go. So they better wrap up. You know, there better not be any shoddy tackling against this team because they'll hurt you. They will hurt you. They're young. And like I said, they're too young to be afraid. They're just out here having fun. And those 2 games they won in the span of 7 days against the Colts and the Chargers, you don't think there's momentum, confidence building for them?
Yeah.
You kidding me? And they're playing for a coach who knows what it takes to get to a Super Bowl and win it?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, the
Who
storyline
also,
for this game is great.
Guys, he'll never say this publicly, but I'm sure Doug feels wronged that he was shown the door. I'm sure he's not happy about that.
I agree.
You know, and don't think that didn't come up in conversations with his present team.
I agree 100%.
Bro.
Yeah, there's motivation there.
There's huge motivation. And, I mean, their receiving core, man. You talking about the running game? Their receiving core. Jones and Kurt.
Which one? Marvin Jones. Marvin Jones and Zay Jones.
Yeah.
Marvin Jones has new life. Since this dude's playing.
Since he left Detroit.
He left Detroit. He's got new life down in Jacksonville. My goodness.
I can't wait.
And here's the thing that's going to be interesting. Evan Ingram is still a good ball player. They're tight end.
Yeah.
Yes.
His problem with the Giants, he couldn't stay healthy, but Evan Ingram is balling down there in Jacksonville.
No, big time, man. Yeah. So if you look at their path so far, the last 2 weeks, somehow they lost to Washington. I don't know what was going on there, but they lost in Washington 28-22. They beat the Colts 24-0 at home, and they beat the Chargers last week 38-10 in LA. They were able to do that. So, you know, they come in feeling pretty good about themselves, and they're an interesting mix. You know, I also think that it was such a disaster last year that there was nowhere to go but up. But the other thing I think they have a great advantage is Doug's used to fixing things pretty quick. I mean, if you ever remember his first year, the Eagles were 7-9 when he takes over after the chip thing, really kind of fizzled out. And then the next year they win a Super Bowl. The next year he wins a playoff game. That's a pretty good first 3 years with an organization.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
that team's so young. That team is so new. They got a breath of fresh air. They didn't know what they had in the coach they had last year. I mean, who is this dude? This dude, instead of going home with the team, he goes and parties at his bar
his restaurant. Yeah, in Ohio,
in Columbus,
and kicking it with his Jones. I mean, come on,
with
man.
his Jones.
Yeah, he kicking it with his Jones instead of flying back. So they were already a mess. But this team runs the ball, and when you run the ball, you can travel.
But then you catch him. If somebody catches him rubbing some woman's backside while he's sitting in a bar, and she's rubbing up against him, and I'm like, can you imagine what his wife must be thinking, embarrassed like this nationally?
Young John too, so
yeah.
You can't be with your Johns, dog.
But dude, you don't take the plane back with the team, and that's what you're doing.
That was already out of order right there. I've heard players do that. I've seen players do that, but
he straight up stole money. He stole. He put a mask on and stole,
and still getting paid.
Got him.
He thought he could just go in there and pull the crap that he pulls in college, man. I mean, it's that simple. You look at he left every place under shady circumstance. He won all the time, but everywhere he left, it was some bogus health claim something else was going on. And you watch, he'll sit this year out and get paid by Fox Sports, and he will be hired somewhere. Nebraska or somebody else will hire him. Mark my words.
He's still getting paid by Jacksonville.
Yeah, I don't think Nebraska will. Those people up there, they don't play that.
They're desperate.
I don't think he's going to go to Nebraska. Yeah.
Huh? Somebody will.
No, you know where he'll go? He'll go to a college team that's on the cusp of being better. They have a good nucleus, but just don't have the coaching staff to make them a better team.
Somebody like Kansas.
Or somewhere like.
Although they're doing well this year.
Well, look at Matt Rule. When Matt Rule went to Baylor, they were a good team. He took them to another level when he was there.
Yep. I just don't see. I don't see him going, anywhere like Nebraska.
Urban Jones.
Urban.
That's a great line.
That's pretty
Come
good.
on,
Yeah.
man. Come on, man. Urban Jones.
Good job, Vlad. Good job, Vlad. Yeah, that was really good.
Oh my goodness.
But just getting back on Doug and this Jaguar team. I tell you what, man, I love watching disciplined football.
Yeah.
I love teams that cross their T's and dot. Like, I don't need the big shot plays. I like being fundamentally sound and understanding how you can move the ball, even though your opponent may be better than you. It's all about being fundamentally sound. Anytime you have somebody like that, you win, man. You can win. And Doug has those guys playing fundamentally sound. They tackle well. They hit their gap. Their gap discipline is great. How this kid is getting the ball out quick. He's not holding the ball. He's getting it out of his hands quick. The receivers understand he's got to get it out quick, so they're making a move and being very direct in what they're doing. They don't make a lot of mistakes as far as a lot of flags. Those are all things from a sign of a good team, and Doug has his team going in the right direction with that.
How do you guys go ahead, Derek? I want to have an existential question for you guys, but go ahead.
How do you spell that, by the way?
What?
Existential. How do you spell it?
EXIS.
Anyway, getting back to my peaceful aura. Here's one stat we didn't even bring up.
Yeah.
They are tied for the league lead in forcing turnovers with 8. They have 6 interceptions and 2 fumble recoveries. Their turnover, and they've only turned the ball over 1 time this season.
That's smart football. They're playing. That's a well-coached team, right there.
Yeah, man.
And Mike Caldwell, props. Mike Caldwell, former Eagle, is their defensive coordinator.
Yeah, he'll be a head coach somewhere real soon.
Absolutely.
What do they call him, Zeke?
Yeah. The thing about Mike Caldwell, when he played football with the Eagles, he was the quietest guy you ever wanted to meet. Always smiling, didn't say a whole lot, engaging to everybody. I never thought he would emerge to where he is now. He's one of the leading defensive coordinators in the game now.
Yeah.
He's always thinking, always calculating. He has taken his coaching game to a level that his playing game never reached.
Right.
And you're right. He's going to be in line to get another head. You know what? Hopefully, because Eric Bieniemy should have been a head coach a long time ago. He can't barely get a sniff in interviews.
Yeah.
Which blows me away. People like Cliff Kingsbury can get a head coach. I don't know, dude. Maybe he doesn't interview well. I don't know. But his track record speaks for itself in Kansas City. When you look at the creativity, we always talk about teams are looking for the next great offensive mind, since this is an offensive-minded game. Eric Bieniemy is one of the best offensive minds in the game. He can barely get a sniff in interviews.
Yeah, agree.
But people like Cliff Kingsbury quit a job at USC to take a job at Arizona. What has he done since he's been there?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Fair enough. No. All right. Question regarding Doug.
Yeah.
When he left here, I felt like he was prematurely shown the door.
Yes.
In hindsight, knowing what the Eagles are doing now, and Doug's obviously doing his thing. He's doing real well. But did the Eagles do the right thing in hindsight? Was it time for both parties to part ways?
Yes.
Doug wanted more say-so in certain things. The organization wasn't willing to give it to him. Doug said, look, I've won you a Super Bowl. I've earned the right to do certain things. Didn't work out. It was time to part ways. It was amicable. It shouldn't have happened, but it is what it is. And Doug knew he was going to get back in the game. That winning that Super Bowl gave him a carte blanche to where he knew. Well, he took a year off because his brother was ill, and his brother died from a bout with cancer, I believe.
Yep.
He had more time to spend with his family. He was still getting paid by the organization. So he took time to breathe. You knew Doug Pederson wasn't going to stay out of football long. Doug Pederson is a lifelong footballer. Okay. You knew he was going to get back. He just waited for the right moment. And boy, could he not have picked a better place to go to. A warm weather environment. The city of Jacksonville, I think we all agree on that. We've been to Jacksonville.
Yep.
But in terms of, he walked in there, he's the Pied Piper of Jacksonville. In one season, he's the Pied Piper of Jacksonville. That team wants another winner. They haven't had a winning team since the days of Mark Brunell.
Yeah, Tom Coughlin.
Think about it.
Yeah,
Tom Coughlin. Think about it.
Yeah.
So Doug Pederson getting off to this 2-1 start has already made him the Pied Piper of Jacksonville. For a football fan base that's starving for respectability and pride. He's given it to him.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised Doug Pederson's back in football after 1 year.
Good hire, man. Really good hire. You know, and I think also, I'm not saying Chip Kelly was Urban Meyer with all the nonsense off the field. I'm not saying that, but his personality was kind of abrasive and rubbed people the wrong way, right? So Doug comes in and he has a track record of kind of just calming the waters and getting things right, and that's what he did when he was here. And I think you needed a guy who was going to come in and just sort of chill everything out a little bit and bring people together, and that's what Doug is more of a uniter. And not only that, he's got the chops. The guy won a Super Bowl. So it was a really good hire by Jed. They haven't made a lot of good moves lately, but that was one.
When the Eagles hired Doug Pederson during that first season, I would ask people, players, front office people, hey, what's it like having Doug here? In unison, everybody, oh my goodness, it's such a breath of fresh air in terms of people in the front office being able to talk to him. He was just like gracious to everybody compared to what Chip was. Chip was standoffish.
Yeah.
Chip would walk past people down the hall, wouldn't even look at them, a lot of times. Chip alienated ex-players in that organization like Harold Carmichael and Mike Quick, okay? So you bring in a Doug Pederson who's just happy to be a head coach, and you talk about a complete turnaround. It's the same thing down in Jacksonville. They went through the ogre of Urban Meyer, who people couldn't get close to. Dude walking around kicking people. not taking the plane back.
I really wish that kicker would have just kicked him right back.
Yeah, bro.
I really do. Right in his nuts. Right in the jewels, man.
Even his coaches hated working with him.
I'd have been done, bro. My NFL career. I mean, if it had been my third year, that just means I wouldn't have been a vested veteran. I would have made it, because you got to get into your fourth year to be a vested veteran.
That would have been it. You would have been.
If he'd have kicked me in the third, if he kicked me in my third year, that'd be my last year. I'd have beat the tar out of him. I'd have beat him like he stole something. Yeah. You'd have been reading about me. We had this paper called The World back in St. Louis. You'd have been reading me about in the world how I killed somebody, because I'm around all my peers, and this is a coach in front of everybody. There's media there and everybody, and my mama would have heard about them kicking me. My mama would have heard about.
He did it to a kicker. He didn't do it to an
offensive
defensive
right. He
line.
knew better.
Is that a coincidence? I think not. Okay.
He knew better. If he'd have kicked me, I'd have canceled this Christmas. I'd have still been beating on him.
He kicked that dude like you nightmares. He kicked that dude like he was Jan Stenerud. Like, man, you would kick me. Yeah, kick. What? You got Tourette syndrome or what? Something wrong with you?
Oh my God!
It'd have been just my luck, because I'd have sued him. I wouldn't need to play anymore. Yeah, but I'd have beat him. I'd have beat him like he's I'm telling you,
he stole something. Yeah. All right, we're coming back. Brandon Lee Gouton from Bleeding Green is going to be joining us. We'll get his take on what's going on with the Birds, preview the Jags as well. Don't go anywhere. We keep it rolling with the Eagles and the football talk a little later. We'll do some NFL stuff. We'll get some rankings. We're going to do buying and selling. We didn't get to that. We'll get to that in the NFL segment. We'll do that as well. Don't go anywhere. D. Gunn, B. Brooks, R. Ellis, Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Let's talk Pro Action Restoration. Yes, Pro Action Restoration is the place you call or reach out to if your home, your business, your property has any kind of water, fire, smoke, or mold damage, or any kind of problems, leaks, whatnot. Pro Action is on call 24 hours, 7 days a week to assist. I went through it. I had water damage in my parents' basement. I called them on a Saturday. They got over there. They plugged up the problem. They cleaned it up. The price was reasonable. The crew was great, and they were just unbelievable. They are licensed, bonded, fully insured, and they've been serving the tri-state area for more than 2 decades. Pro Action will work in conjunction with your insurance company. So it could be any of the above: water, fire, smoke, mold remediation, you name it, they can handle it. Give them a call, 610-623-3760, 610-623-3760, or you can reach out online at proactionrestoration.com. That's proactionrestoration.com.